looking back on it now, I realized that it was probably a mistake to buy it. And if I had left that 43,000 in the same fund until today, it'd be worth almost $80,000. So the year is 2012 when I had just graduated college, and I wasn't really sure what was going to happen next. It took me actually about 5 years, not about 5 years, it took me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree because I kept changing my mind and I kept changing my major. I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. So when it was all said and done, I ended up with a major in business and finance, and I minored in computer information systems. One of the things I discovered was that personal finance is a lot more fun to me than corporate finance. And I thought that corporate finance would just be a really awesome job. Turns out it wasn't, so I switched over to computers at the end. And I graduated with the intent of having a software engineering job for my first job. And after about 3 months, I think it was 3 months or so, through a family friend, I was able to get that first job with O'Reilly Auto Parts, which is headquartered in the same city that I graduated college from. Before I got that job, I knew that regardless of where I ended up, I wanted to be good with my money. But I didn't know really how to do that apart from budgeting. I knew how to budget, and I knew about saving my money, but that's really about it. And so when I got that first job, I was making $45,000, which may not be a lot, but at the time for a young single guy, that's quite a bit of money. And I had more money at the end of the month, every month, than I knew what to do with. I was budgeting, I had some left over, and I saved it. But after a while, I began to think that I'm not doing something quite right. And I began to fall prey to something called lifestyle inflation, which I've mentioned before. So after 3 or 4 months of this process of working and having money left over at the end of the month, it began to build up in my savings account. I wasn't sure quite what to do with it. And I think this is somewhere that a lot of other people who might be young professionals find themselves in. And this is where I began to make my mistake. Things began to catch my eye that I couldn't afford beforehand. Like I paid and built a new gaming computer, which at the time it is still a very expensive thing. So a new gaming computer. I was eating all organic food. I was eating like steak twice a week, I think. Like I was just spending the money because I thought I had it in my savings account. I might as well spend it. And then something really, really awesome caught my eye. Now, at this point, I should probably point out that I've had a lifelong love for all things cars. And even when I was a little boy, I remember it actually started with I was sitting on the couch one day and my stepdad was flipping through TV, and he stopped for a second on a segment of a show. At the time, I didn't know what it was called, but it was three guys, and they had a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and something else lined up on a giant runway, and they're gonna drag race them. And it was we watched it for like 20 seconds, and it was awesome. And then he kept on flipping, and I never found out what the name of the show was until years later. It was called Top Gear, and it's one of my favorite shows. It always has been, probably always will be as long as it's on there. It's a car show for those who don't know. And long story short, this car show happened to have a segment on one of their episodes devoted to this car, the Subaru BRZ, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. And best of all, it was now affordable with my new job. So in my mind, I had just unlimited money sitting around. I knew that I wasn't going to spend it all, so I was like, I might as well spend it on this. And so I looked up, I went on to Auto Trader or something. We found a guy in St. Louis who had recently purchased it, and he was wanting to sell it because now he wanted a Ferrari. So he bought it new for 32,000, I think. We bought it from him for 28,000. Or I bought it from him, and he only put I think 3,000 miles on it. So it's practically new, and I saved myself a little over $3,000, but it was still $28,000 expense for a guy who just had his first job. And I had student loans on top of that, but at the time I just didn't think about that. And so I put $10,000 down on the car, and I financed the other 18 over 5 years. Or it may have been 6 at this point, I forget, but I knew I wanted that car, and so I got it. So I should mention here that before I bought the BRZ, I had a perfectly fine car. It actually looked pretty good. It was a 95 Toyota Celica, and it was very dependable. I had it from my senior year through high school all the way through college. It never had issues. It looked good. It got decent mileage. But once I saw the BRZ and I knew that I could afford it, I took it. Now, don't get me wrong, I've really enjoyed driving this car over the past 8 years. But looking back on it now, I realize that it was probably a mistake to buy it. And the reason is because if I look at what that money would have become had I just invested it in a simple index fund that tracks S&P 500, if it had been left in that just over the same time frame, it'd be worth about $43,000. And if I had left that $43,000 in the same fund until today, it'd be worth almost $80,000. So an $80,000 cash asset versus the car, I think, is worth maybe $12,000 a day with the miles I put on it. You can do the math and see which one is the better choice. Now, I say this because I feel like it's something a lot of people who graduate college, it's a mistake a lot of people make. And it's so easy. People are so willing to give you a loan when you're fresh, you got your first job, you got that education. They're more than willing to give you a loan. They make it so easy for you. But I'm telling you, don't make that mistake. Don't fall for the trap, because in the long run, it's not worth it. Because when you're young, you have the single most valuable resource you'll ever have, and that is time. It's not money, it's time. It's the years you have left in your life, because that is simply opportunity for your money to grow and become something greater. So when you put it into a hard asset, especially something like a car that depreciates, you're paying a lot more than just, or you're losing rather, a lot more than just the dollar value on that purchase. And this really all stems from the singular problem of not having a plan for your money. Like how I opened up this video, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do beyond budgeting. The reason that the whole problem is I didn't know what to do with the money. I just saved it and I was like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. And I ended up blowing it on a car, a sports car, a really cool car. But I blew it nonetheless. If you have an exact plan of what to do with your money, how to save it, retirement accounts, investing, just basic things, you'll go much further, much faster in life than just trying to wing it and learn as you go. So probably next week or the week after, I'll make the video based on the accounts that is helpful for you to have. Just, the basic investing account, the emergency fund, spending. I'll show you how I set that up. And I really think that will help a lot of you in the long run, because you just know what to do with your money, 90% of your problems just go away. So if you're only going to take one thing from this video, just learn from my mistake. Don't blow your money on something really cool right out of college. I know the feel, the pull of it. I know the excitement. Just fight it. Your future self will thank you. I'm trying to pump one of these videos out every week on various finance topics, personal finance. So if you enjoyed it, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time.